This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Two here, Money Moves, live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We're live on SiriusXM channel 158, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, VSiN Watch app, wherever you're watching or listening. Thank you. We appreciate it. We've got a jam-packed hour on deck. Lots of college football to get to. The college football playoff first round getting underway tomorrow. I'll give you a deep dive on my game with JMU and Oregon. Also, one bet I have today in the Xbox Bowl. Jim Coventry also going to join us in 30 minutes. SiriusXM Fantasy and RotoWire. Talk through some of his plays for the day as well as some props. And that's actually where we're going to kick things off here from a Thursday night football prop perspective, because we've talked about our big picture thoughts on the game today, where we are seeing the market pretty firmly now having Seattle in that favorites role. Total in this one has come down a good bit as well, by the way, with some of the weather implications. Not nearly as bad as what people thought it might be. The initial conditions were, it was like gusts of 30, 40 miles an hour, rain throughout. It looks like there will be rain, but it could dissipate a little bit later on in the second half of this game. Sustained winds still will be there around 10 to 15 miles an hour. So keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. But from a prop betting perspective, I think let's start with the biggest injury of the day in Davante Adams, doubtful for this game for Los Angeles. Who might be the beneficiary of that in the offense for you?
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I guess the easy answer is Nakua, right? But one of the thoughts is when you saw Nakua get injured earlier in the season and they weren't fully healthy, the tight ends were the ones that were the beneficiaries of it. So it sounds like you've got it.
That's where I was going to go, is I feel like Colby Parkinson, but then I was looking at the numbers and all of them have been bet up. Not too significant, but from 36.5 yards to 39.5 yards. The receptions prop up from 3.5 to 4.5. The over is at plus 120 on that side, around plus 240 for an anytime touchdown. But he has been targeted 17 times the last 3 weeks. The snap percentage has been on the rise. And against the Lions, 7 targets, 5 catches, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not overly optimistic about some other guys in the wide receiver room outside of Puka Nakua, who could be distracted mentally with some other things that are going on in his life right now. But Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, Kanata Mumfield, like those are not names that I particularly believe in and think are going to get action. So Colby was the first one that came to mind for me.
You're saying them so dismissively.
Sorry, Tutu. I love you. But I think Colby would probably be that was the first name that came for me when I was going through things this morning.
I also think before we get into the conversation too of who's going to be the beneficiary of Adams' absence, is Stafford going to play better? He only had 130 yards and the 4.6 yards per attempt against the against the Seahawks the first time around. Yeah. And that was at home. Now you're on the road, short week. There could be a little bit of rain here today. So does that lead to another muted passing attack from Stafford, regardless of who gets all the targets? Sure. And you really try to, albeit, and you did it to an extent, although a lot of this came from 34 yards. But you did, as a team, average 5.4 yards per attempt. Kyren Williams did run for 91 when you met them the first time. He also had a touchdown as well. He had a long of 34, but you were able to run the ball relatively well. In the scenario that we have here, no Adams, on the road, potential rain, a good secondary. Do you see them try to test this front and run the ball more? And maybe we're looking at some unders for Stafford as opposed to trying to find who's going to be the target.
The pass yards for Stafford, I believe, around 229.5.
Sure.
Over 1.5 touchdowns, minus 103 to the over, minus 125 to the under. Stafford also even money to throw an interception in this spot. But if what you say is true from the running perspective, Kyren Williams, 55.5, his rush yards. Blake Corum, 38.5. He's had 10 plus carries the last 2 weeks, highest snap percentage of the season last week. And we've seen some of that commentary on trying to keep Kyren Williams healthy for the playoffs. Short rest week. Could that mean maybe a little more play on his end potentially? But you're also facing a Seattle Seahawks defense. It's like the best run defense in the league.
Yeah.
So.
Or do you find that in like a split of attempts? Like, do you go under Kyren Williams' attempts, assuming that?
Yeah, maybe that's an angle.
You see what I'm saying? Instead of going for yards and trying to take a stab at where they might end up. I think one of the other interesting aspects of this from a prop standpoint, one of the things that sticks out about the Rams' defensive profile, especially if you go to if people like the DVOA, the defense by receiver, teams rank 20. The Rams rank 20th in the NFL when teams target their number one overall wide receivers by DVOA standards. if you look at some recent performances for some of the big wide receiving names that we have seen in recent weeks, not even big names, but just the high target guys. Michael Wilson, even in a blowout of 45-17, had 11 receptions for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 13 catches and big numbers too. So you're nodding like this has been on your radar too. So maybe it's just low-hanging fruit of Jackson Smith and Jigba just getting it.
Yep. You're like reading my notes off of your own computer, I swear. Yeah, I mean, the volume is certainly going to be there, I think, even with the weather, because what were we talking about? Like, what else can this offense really do? They can't run the football. He has been the tried and true target for Sam Darnold in what has been, recent weeks struggling. He hasn't. The yardage at 89.5, his receptions at 6.5. He ranks 3rd among all receivers in receptions per game on the season. He's gone over this receptions number in 8 of the last 10 games, the yards in 9 of the last 10. And when you look at the target numbers, 7+ catches and 9+ targets in 4 of the last 5. The last meeting specifically with this Los Angeles Rams team, 9 catches on 12 targets, 105 yards. And to back up your numbers about the Rams defense, PFF has them 29th in receptions per game allowed, 4th most in the league.
Yeah.
So
it seems like that it's always kind of easy to go in that direction, but that seems to be it. And Darnold, as you're kind of referring to here, has kind of reverted to just spamming targets in Jackson Smith and Jigba's direction, as opposed to asking other guys like Rashid Shaheed to do things for him. And Shaheed's made his impact felt, but it's more on special teams than anything else. We saw the 100-yard return for a touchdown against Atlanta too. So I think that's probably something that seems too easy on the surface, but at the very least, looking at JSN for an over receptions, potentially somewhere in that range, I think you're probably feeling like that's the angle to go with.
Sam Darnold in the first meeting, a huge story of that game was if he just threw 3 interceptions, they win that game, but he threw 4. Him to throw a pick today, it is juiced to -140. But do you even...
It's a lot. I mean...
Look at an over 1.5?
1.5. You have him throw 2 picks?
I'm just saying, see what that plus money odds would be. I don't know. But, I mean, -140, is that way too rich?
It's for me on the surface, I would say yes, but as we talked about, his numbers have gotten worse. His turnover-worthy play rate has escalated in a really big way.
Blindside going to be on a backup left tackle too. Charles Cross out the next 2 to 4 weeks.
But week 10 to 15, turnover-worthy play rate went from 2% weeks 1 through 9 to 5.5% since week 10. That's a big problem for Darnold. And if he's going to continue to put the ball in danger here and just target one guy, you could see a scenario. Because those were, you go back and look at some of those turnovers against LA the first time around, they were bad. They weren't just some, there can be randomness with interceptions. Not those. Those were just bad reads.
Well, and I'm thinking about the conditions too. If you're forced in a position to throw the ball because you just simply cannot run it. Ball's tipped up, slippery, wind, all that stuff. Who knows? His passing yards prop set at 224.5. The over 1.5 touchdowns. You are getting plus money on the over as well. And again, that pricing for the interception, -141 on the yes, plus 112 on the no if you think he can stay clean.
Well, here's my question for you. Let me get the exact number here. Total field goals for
Seattle?
Yeah,
or for the
Seattle
game?
Or kicking points in general, and what we're looking at for Jason Myers. Orlovsky, the clip we played earlier today, he referenced this. The inability to score touchdowns in the red zone for Seattle has been a big problem for the season. They're 17th at red zone touchdown percentage. If you include the Rams, including the Rams game, so going back to that, they have scored a touchdown on just 6 of 13 of their red zone possessions over the last 5 weeks. That's 46%. That's even worse than where they're at for the season. So they're not scoring touchdowns at a high clip when they get into the red zone. They're settling for field goals. Look at what we just saw last week where they win on all field goals. If you go back to the Rams game again, lining up for a field goal in a game in which they did not find the end zone, but lining up nonetheless to potentially win it, that has been a very big problem. You can get Myers at 3+ field goals at plus 161, or maybe looking in that range. The problem with kicking points is obviously that includes extra points. Do you expect that there's going to be some in there? Given the way this offense has played the last few weeks, perhaps, but it's also a very low total game.
I mean, the field goals, I'm just looking through Jason Myers' game log.
Look how many he's been kicking.
Dude, it's like 6, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. Like it's, and by the way, he's not missing them either. And I think that's another important layer to this. Granted, you do have to take the weather once again into account when it comes to the kicking game here. But he's missed 1 field goal dating back to November 2nd. It's pretty good.
So now he's going to miss like 3 of them today here. Is that what we're saying?
I don't think the broadcaster jinx counts on radio, right?
But he is with the struggles of this offense. that has coincided quite a bit with an uptick in field goal attempts. I don't think you meant to do that.
I had chapped lips. Sorry. I was trying to make like a trumpet sound. Last minute or so before we go out of here, I did want to also mention in the last half hour or so, we saw the news come down in that Bears-Packers game. Well, we talked about Christian Watson trying to give it a go. On the Bears side of things, Rome Odunze and Luther Burden officially both ruled out for Saturday in that game with Green Bay.
Yeah, see, and that's the other part about it. It's just, the Bears aren't in perfect health either.
Yeah.
So I know that there's a lot of being made.
I mean, they're run heavy to begin with, and they still have DJ Moore and some other options, but
it's not a wonderful situation for either
great.
teams.
Because I think Luther Burden was the guy you were really hoping would be okay.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. I mean, for Green Bay, going back to if Tom doesn't play their offensive lineman, then I think you're at a rough spot.
Worth noting, everybody, as the official horse racing partner of VSiN, First Bet is built for all you bettors who demand more. First Bet isn't just about placing a bet. It's about helping bettors of all levels with proprietary AI handicapping tools. That's going to give you data-driven insights to help you make smarter bets. And First Bet's in-app tools will give you win, place, and show probabilities for each runner. You can quickly and easily identify good value plays and improve your ROI. And right now, if you take advantage, they've got a limited time $250 sign-up offer going on. To claim your bonus, all you need to do is use our promo code VSiN250. That's VSiN250 when you sign up in the First Bet app or at firstbet.com. It's the number one stbets.com. And again, promo code VSiN250. Going to be that code you need. When we come back, so we're going to get into a little bit of the college football bowl season coming up. I do have a play on the Xbox Bowl.
Ooh.
And that is not something that I expected coming into the day. But as I started going through the numbers, I think I found a bet I really like. So curious your opinion on it. And of course, we'll get into some of the CFP games that are coming up this weekend, beginning with Alabama and Oklahoma tomorrow. Stay with us. Locked in on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The Bahamas Bowl might be gone, but in steps the first ever Xbox Bowl coming up tonight. So welcome you back to Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony. Missouri State and Arkansas State going head-to-head tonight, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern on ESPN2. They're relegated to ESPN2 for this bowl because they've got, I believe it's the Final Four of women's volleyball today. Game played at Ford Center at the start in Frisco, Texas. Flip of favorites a few times in this game. And so you can tell the way bowl season has been going, how volatile these markets are when they start taking money, because Arkansas State opened a 2.5-point favorite earlier this morning, right before we came on air. Missouri State was a 2.5-point favorite. And now the Red Wolves, Arkansas State, favored again by 1.5. This total has come down significantly as well, from 58.5 to 54.5. Kind of a cool year for Missouri State. 7 wins, first season at the FBS level. Usually there's a 2-year probation period for postseason play, but because of all the other opt-outs we've seen, they get this opportunity. Their coach, Ryan Beard, was actually hired away for how good a job that he's done here to Coastal Carolina. And I saw, because I was Googling to see if we had any news that might be shifting this market, but no, it's just bets coming in, that Missouri State finalized SMU offensive coordinator Casey Woods this morning to be their next head coach. So that's how that's going to go down. Both of these teams, roster-wise, JVT, pretty full rosters, even with guys who are in the portal, still going to be playing this game for the most part. So you should have pretty good best on best across the board. I like Missouri State's team total in here.
Okay.
So I was going through some of the stuff. It's sitting at 27.5. I initially was looking toward the first half team total, but I think the full game is just the wiser play. They're a pretty high scoring unit. And you know how we talked about UConn offensively earlier this year, and we said Nick Fignano is probably like the best quarterback that you've never heard of, kind of a thing with how well he was playing at times. I'm not going to put Jacob Clark in that exact category, but he's a very underrated lower level guy when you kind of go through the numbers. A little bit turnover prone, and that's probably why he plays at the level that he does. But 24 passing touchdowns for him this year, 16 in the last 6 weeks. He's going to surpass 3,000 yards in this game, averaging about 265 a game. And going through some of his like pass catchers complement. Offensive coordinator is going to be intact. The rest of the staff, aside from the head coach, will be here, taking on a secondary that's one of the worst in the country. And so this is kind of where my edge comes in. You have a defense that gives up a lot of points and particularly is not good against the pass. Against a passing offense, it's very efficient and can score points. They rank 131st in defensive success rate on dropbacks, 105th in EPA per dropback. All in, they're 114th in the nation in yards per play allowed. Missouri State's running back, Shamari Lawrence, near 1,000-yard back, 7 touchdowns for him, including 3 the last 3 games. And Arkansas State has let each of their last 3 opponents go over these numbers. So that's just, I wanted to play on this game today. I've been having fun with some of these lower bowls as they've been getting going and found an angle, and I was happy with it. So Missouri State team total over 27.5 today.
I like it. Makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
I mean, I would assume, too.
I feel like I'm doing my best Adam Burke today.
You're doing a very good job. And I would assume, too, I mean, the motivation of doing what you're talking about, achieving all of this, going out there, getting a bowl win for Missouri State.
It's a big season for them.
A very big year for them. So I'm down with it.
Motivation on their side. If you want to give them a little love as an underdog to win outright, you're not getting the bang for your buck that you might think. Still just around even money, minus 105. So nothing too great there. Let's get started going through the CFP first round games as well, especially because the one tomorrow. So before we get to my game, I did want to ask about the one tomorrow because we're on opposite sides of this. And
Are we officially?
Yes, I am on Alabama.
Okay, all right.
And I know you're on Oklahoma. I don't feel as great about it, but the reason I want to make sure we talk about this because this game is tomorrow. And with the CFP this year, they are requiring injury reports. And so we're actually getting some pretty significant updates from these teams ahead of the games. So let me go through this for you. Alabama, Ty Simpson has had a couple weeks now to heal up. Didn't look particularly right down the stretch. Rumors it was a back issue. He has said he feels great, not on the injury report. Center Parker Brailsford is also back. Ryan Grubb said on Tuesday their running back Jam Miller, who got dinged up against Auburn, missed the SEC title game. He is full go and taken off the availability report. And their starting tight end Ryan Cuevas, who missed the final 3 games of the year, upgraded from questionable to probable. He was a big factor in that first game, too. 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown in that first meeting with Oklahoma. All 3 of those guys, again, out in the SEC title game, but going to be available for this one. So a good advantage, I guess, for an Alabama team that played such a close game before. Has a lot of woulda, shoulda, coulda moments in that game and has struggled recently to get those guys back. On the Oklahoma side, John Mateer, we've talked a lot throughout the course this season how he hasn't been the same guy since coming back from hand surgery, but ample time for him to get better too. Not practicing with that, what's that tape called? KT tape?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, not practicing with the KT tape anymore for the first time since that surgery. His starting center, still recovering from an infection, and I guess he's questionable, dealing with some fatigue. Cornerback Gentry Williams needed shoulder surgery, so he's going to be done for the playoff, but big to see their defensive end, R. Mason Thomas, off the injury report. He's been dealing with a quad injury the last month and a half. He's expected to play for the first time since November.
So, with all of that, why do you like Alabama?
I think for a lot of the reasons that a lot of people do.
Like just going back, not just, but going back to the first game, their ability to move it on Oklahoma.
Yeah, and getting healthy, like I said, too, and a lot of those really key pieces. I was among the voices that didn't think Alabama should even be in the playoff, but now that they are, like, these were 2 teams I was looking to fade if they were to make it. Now they're both in here, so it's kind of the lesser of 2 evils here for me. But just the way they outgained them, the way turnovers were a problem and ended up being so costly, I feel like they should be in a better position here, and especially after getting embarrassed the way they did in the SEC title game and don't want to lose again to this Oklahoma team from a motivation side. I like their edge as well.
Yeah, I keep going back to health is, I think, a very important factor in it. But when I've watched this Alabama team and the way that this offense has looked pretty disjointed for the last month, I don't see a team that just needs to get healthy to fix what's going on. I understand that you go back to when they played Oklahoma and the fact that they moved the ball and you're a pick 6 or just a turnover away from just winning that game, let alone the result here. But I think one of the things that has bothered me, Alabama, you come into this, you're 101st in the country in rushing efficiency. That's not just health. That's a team that can't really run the ball. We've seen Ty Simpson. I think one of the reasons why he was dinged up, he's been under pressure quite a bit more in recent weeks. I think people are starting to kind of send pressure toward him. If you look at his numbers for like a week-to-week production, you've seen the production for him from an efficiency standpoint from other different parts of his game kind of fall off going back to, like the Tennessee game was probably his last like great game. Since then, it's been really hit or miss all over the place for Simpson. Maybe that's the injury. Maybe he's healthy again. I look at Oklahoma defensively. I understand how good they are, like on paper. I think some of the pushback would be if you look at some of their better offensive opponents, they have moved the ball on Oklahoma. but I just don't really see an Alabama team that I think is firing on all cylinders, even with some of the extra time off. And at home, just asked out Oklahoma to essentially win the game. Obviously, I need to win by 2 here, but I think Oklahoma is the side to back. So I'll trust the defense to get it done.
I gotcha. We'll see. I mean, it's just the uncharacteristic 3 turnovers, outgaining Oklahoma by 200 yards in that spot. And I do feel like it's interesting. I keep hearing people talking about the John Mateer getting healthier, but not Ty Simpson getting healthier. And I think that's an important piece of it because I think he is shown to be the better quarterback.
Oh, I'll be fully honest. I don't think Mateer's coming out here and all of a sudden waking up and throwing the ball
Venables
around.
is still talking about how he's still in pain.
Yeah. No, I think to me, if this is going to go the way that I think, I'm talking the game goes under the total, Oklahoma makes it ugly. It's more of, I go back to the reason why I think you and I both were on Georgia in the SEC championship game. It's a similar reason. I just think Alabama offensively, the needle is pointing down, and we have a lot of points of evidence to that. Georgia, Auburn, was it Illinois, East Illinois, whatever? We'll put a line through that.
Illinois.
Yeah, one of the directional Illinois schools. But there's against, we'll call it similar competition, which obviously this is. It's a 1.5 point spread. I think Alabama has kind of proven that this offense does have some problems, and I don't think the recovery of some of these guys is going to fix those issues.
Okay. So. We can talk more about JMU Oregon at the end of the show, but at least just real quickly here. I went back specifically through that week 2 game at Louisville because I think that's the game most people can look to and say, all right, this is the higher level competition that JMU ultimately played. How did they look? And the final score, maybe not as indicative of how well they played throughout. It was tied in the 4th quarter until a fumble return touchdown flipped the game on its head, held Louisville to 264 yards, which was their 2nd lowest offensive output of the season and 5 yards per play, 3rd lowest of the year. One area they did struggle that is a big concern, and I'm very, interested to hear what Bob Chesney's rebuttal is going to be in our meetings tomorrow about this. The offensive line looked overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And Troy also had their way with that front in the Sun Belt title game. Now you're going against Oregon, who is built very different. And a lot of these games start in the trenches. And I told you when we had Nick Bogdanovich on the program earlier today, I am really excited to see what JMU does. Is there going to need to be smoke and mirrors? Yes. But they're going to throw the kitchen sink at this thing. Defensively, they're going to try to disguise, have misdirection, do what they can. Offensively, they've got a mobile quarterback, a really, really talented running back in Wayne Knight. Not a lot of pass catching options that are going to wow you, but I think that they have the capability of doing some things to get points on the board. How long does it last, though? Because so I've kind of talked myself into believing that we can get a competitive first half out of this, but does just the depth and the physicality of a team like Oregon wear on you? And that's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I saw Jeff Schwartz tweeting about this too. I mean, it's not a perfect injury report for Oregon either in the wide receiver room. So,
and listen, and all those 3 guys that they've been trying to get back are questionable, and we haven't seen anything firm on what that's going to look like. They're back practicing. But also, if you're Oregon and you get these guys back, what's more important to you, getting them reps in a game or saving them for a bigger game, potentially as such a big favorite?
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Big weekend in the NFL coming up, and it's kicking off tonight, Thursday Night Football. Who's the best in the NFC West? Rams and Seahawks going head-to-head. He's Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Buonantony with you. Very excited to continue this NFL conversation with Jim Coventry, who joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line, SiriusXM Fantasy and RotoWire. You can follow him on X at Jim Coventry NFL. And Jim, let's start with Thursday Night Football. I know you don't have an official play, but this is the biggest Thursday Night Football game I can think of in a while, aside from the Icy Hot Bowl. I know that was big news earlier this season, but this is a big one in terms of the division and the NFC.
It's a huge game. And what we've seen in the last 6 weeks, defenses are making it a more stressed point to show Sam Darnold what we call simulated pressure. They're dropping players into coverage more than teams had earlier in the season. The book should have been out on him before, but if it wasn't, it's out again. And Darnold has struggled more since it happened because he needs the play to be clean from the beginning. Rams just played him a few weeks ago, picked him off 4 times, and they did the basic recipe. Sent some rushers that weren't expected, dropped people into the natural passing lanes. That's going to continue. Sam Darnold does not know how to fix this because he cannot fix this. The rushing game was not terrible for Seattle in that first matchup, but the Rams are a good run defense. It's going to be hard for Seattle to move the ball. The other side becomes interesting, though, because obviously Davante Adams is out. Didn't do much in that first game. 8 targets, caught a 1-yard touchdown and nothing else. But the Rams love leaning into that 3 tight end offense. They try to get opposing defenses to go into their base personnel against that. Seahawks didn't bite last time. Seahawks stayed in their we call it nickel, 3 cornerback look. And the Rams had a couple big runs. They struggled to run the football consistently. The difference in this game, Sean McVay, I think, will have a game plan to take advantage of what he saw last time. I think he's far better at adjustments, and he'll have the ability to do that than the Seahawks will be. I think that makes a difference here. The Rams do have an edge here.
All right, let's talk a little bit about some of these games coming up this weekend. Texans taking on the Raiders. Is it just as easy as we're piling on Las Vegas here? Eagles shut them out. We're going to keep doing it?
You know, the thing is with the Raiders, the offensive line, it starts there. They get no room for Gentry. And then defenses know there are no credible receivers. You're throwing Jack Besh and 33-year-old Tyler Lockett out there. Defenses do not ever have to play their safety deep. You can put extra bodies in the front and intermediate area of the field, which means extra attention on Brock Bowers, which means extra attention on Ashton Gentry. And they have no way, the Raiders, to get out of neutral on offense. Now you're talking about a pass rush with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson and a lot of obvious passing situations. I just don't know how they're going to score more than 10 points here. And to get to 10 is going to be a struggle. On the other side, C.J. Stroud, the offensive line has definitely gelled and gotten better over the course of the season. And so C.J. Stroud, when he has a positive pass matchup and a pass rush, Max Crosby's on his own is great, but the rest of that Raiders rush, not so much. So there's going to be a lot of slants to Nico Collins. They'll even get Jaden Higgins involved. They're going to have very little problem getting their offense continued on the right track. And again, I just don't see how they don't steamroll them playing in Houston.
Yeah, I've been saying the last couple of weeks, I think the Raiders are the worst team in the league, and it seems like the market's finally catching up to it. Meanwhile, this Texans team, they had such a slow start to the year, and they are, it feels like, starting to peak at the right time. So we'll see what that ends up looking like when all is said and done. Another team that's on the outs, Miami, officially eliminated from the postseason. Mike McDaniel makes the change at quarterback to Quinn Ewers. And when in terms of the pass catchers, I know there is a prop in this game that you are looking toward. Why do you like Darren Waller for this one?
Darren Waller on DraftKings Sportsbook is criminally low at 25.5 yards. So put it this way. Cincinnati's played 14 games. 18 tight ends have gone over 25 yards. That's more than one tight end per game. And the beauty here is, obviously, when we watch the game tape, the Bengals have no presence in the middle of the field. That's why tight ends do so well against them. And Quinn Ewers comes in. Now, there's not going to be much of a pass rush. Trey Hendricks has been gone for quite a while, not coming back IR. And so what we're going to see here is they're going to have him get the ball out quickly. But that's going to be a lot of Darren Waller in the middle of the field. I know it's lazy analysis to say that a tight end is a new quarterback's best friend, but in this game, that is particularly true. And we have seen Waller put up at least 27 yards in 4 of the 6 games he's played, which are over that 25-yard prop. I don't see too many scenarios where he's below 35 yards, and he could actually have a smash game here.
All right, I like it. I know he's been a comeback player of the year candidate for Mitch Moss for a while. He's not going to get there, I think, because of the time missed, but has had a little bit of a resurgence. Let's stick with the player prop angle. We have seen Tyler Shuck have a really good push at the end of the year. Chris Olave has been part of that. Do you think that continues here for Olave?
Yeah, I like Chris Olave's prop at 6+ receptions on DraftKings. Now, the first way to look at it is Olave's gotten there 2 out of 4 games. That's not impressive. But here's what'll happen. Devon Vele had become a very big part of that offense, getting significant targets. Vele suffered a chest injury, has already been ruled out of this week's game. This is a very narrow passing tree. It's Olave, and then it's a little bit of Juwan Johnson. And I don't know how often Tyler Shuck has to pass here. We know when they trail, he'll throw 40 times. They're playing the Jets. They probably have a lead as 5.5-point favorites. But Shuck will still throw 25 times. To think Olave with no Devon Vele does not get 8 targets or more here, that's really hard to imagine that. So Olave should have very little issue. He plays almost a full time, 86% of the snaps over the last 3 games. The Jets cornerbacks, they have nobody to come close to match up to Olave's ability to get open in the short and intermediate area. And then the Jets have not gotten a significant pass rush. I don't see that being an issue. So Olave should get you 7 or 8 catches in this game.
Talking NFL Week 16 with Jim Coventry. He does a great job covering the NFL. You can catch him on SiriusXM Fantasy as well as RotoWire. Follow him on X at Jim Coventry NFL. And this next game, so JVT and I have been opposite ends on it, and I'm glad that I get you to help support my case here. I really like the New England Patriots getting a field goal against Baltimore this week. Tell JVT why that's the side.
Baltimore continues to get the respect from previous years. They're not getting respect for the team they are right now. Defensively, there is no one thing they do extremely well, and that doesn't really work against the Patriots. The pass rush is sporadic, and that's a problem because even with left tackle Will Campbell out, if the Ravens had a great pass rush, I would be worried. But Drake May likes to throw downfield, and I believe in this game without a great opposing pass rush, he gets that part of his game going. But also, the Ravens are not a good defense against the run. They used to be great in the past years. They're getting credit for it. They are not. This is a game where either a little Ramondre Stevenson up the middle and a big dose of Travion Henderson to the outside. I think the Patriots have very little trouble moving the ball. But on the other side, Lamar still isn't right. Getting a little better each week, but you still see he's not able to run at the level he did. We see the offensive line. It is not the line of years past. The Patriots on defense, they do everything well, nothing great, but doing everything well against this version of the Ravens offense, to me, that's a winner. And getting 3 points, I would have taken this at a pick 'em. Getting 3 points, even if the Patriots lose, it's not by more than a field goal.
All right, well, you're just currying favor here with Stormy because I know she loves the Eagles as well this weekend against the Commanders.
Yeah, so the Eagles had a get-right game last week. Who doesn't against the Raiders? The Commanders are obviously a defense that has more than a share of issues. They had Trey Amos was a decent corner. Lattimore, okay, been past his time, but they're both been on injured reserve for a while. They lost another corner. They are just too far down injuries. Bobby Wagner, who's good straight and up and down front straight line, stop the middle line. He missed practice with a knee injury. That's a problem. There is very little reason to think the Eagles cannot get their offense another week on track. They should be able to pick how they want to attack. If they get Barkley to the outside, the problem for the Commanders is they cannot play laterally. Their front 7 players, they're all a straight up and down unit. So anything that gets to the perimeter usually causes excessive damage. And then the other side of the ball, Vic Fangio has the defense playing at a high level, and Zach Ertz, for what it's worth, him being gone does hurt them. And ultimately, the Eagles are going to send a lot of pressure when needed at Marcus Mariota, and Mariota, just the limitations will show up in this game. The Eagles have not been great this year. They haven't covered often, but there's very little reason to think that they don't win this one by 10 points.
Yeah, it just feels like a good spot for them to get back on track, you know. Jim, really, really appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you see those best bets again on the screen, guys, just to recap. Like in the Houston Texans, minus 14.5 against the Raiders. The Eagles laying 6.5 against the Commanders. Patriots +3 versus Baltimore. Darren Waller over 25.5 yards. And Chris Olave, 6+ receptions, around minus 115, minus 116. On that note, we are going to step aside when we come back here to close out the day on Money Moves. We'll give our final thoughts on Thursday Night Football, a big one with the Rams and Seahawks going head-to-head. And since I'm not going to be here tomorrow, a few college football plays headed into the weekend as well. The Patriots in particular, though, I know I like the field goal. I love them as a teaser leg this week.
Okay.
Love. I'm ready to get hurt again. I'm ready to get hurt again. We'll be right back on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Well, it's not instantly betting related is worth noting already looking ahead to next year as Texas on the outside looking into the college football playoff this year. Steve Sarkisian making some changes to the staff, fired his defensive coordinator, Pete Kwiatkowski, as well as the DBs coach Dwayne Akina, and is adding Will Muschamp back as the new defensive coordinator. Spent the last few years in various roles at Georgia. Now he's back at Texas.
Yeah, I think there's some personnel, like some differences there. Just because if I were to ask you, hey, what was the most consistent aspect of Texas this year? Probably the defense, wouldn't you? Like that would probably be the first answer on the street. So you saw him, you had him, so maybe you would have a little bit more insight. But it seems not shocking, but you know,
I had a rough day for Texas.
Yeah.
I swear there is something about me that I end up getting these teams and players and specific units that are billed as being awesome that when I have them, they just kind of like really fall flat.
But I mean, if I remember correctly, wasn't it like a 16-13 game?
They were a massive favorite against Kentucky.
No, well, I mean, but defensively, I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm saying the defense was good. But I'm talking about Arch and the way that he was finally trending up and they were coming off of a big win against Oklahoma. Like that's when we had them. And just
Well, I think it's been scientifically proven that there is some sort of force field around Provo that every time you leave that airspace, the magic stays there.
Everything else is the upside down, but when I'm there, it's regular.
Some would call it an act of God.
Maybe. Okay.
Some would want you to pray
one
to
other
that
thing
God
in college football yesterday in West Coast Bias, we were previewing the Ohio UNLV game for the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl.
Whoa.
And I was sending you some links because the reason that he was fired seemed odd. Like Miami's head coach, Brian Smith, was fired. And like you're seeing the reports initially that were coming out saying that it was because he was drinking alcohol in the office after hours and would allow like some of his staffers to have a glass of bourbon with him again after hours, after all the work was done. And you're like, that doesn't seem right. Front Office Sports reporting this morning that he was having an affair with an undergraduate student at the university. And that would, violate their rules on campus. But like we were going back and forth like, the drinking bourbon after hours as an adult with all adults seems a little suspect to be fired.
Yeah. You kind of figured there was going to be more there. And shockingly enough, there was. How about that, huh?
And you like UNLV in that game.
No, if you remember our conversation correctly.
Wait, no.
It was if it gets to 7, I think Ohio would be the play. But now that I know the truth, there's no way. No, going back to like the key matchup here. UNLV's defense has been really poor, as we know, all year long, specifically on the ground. And if we know anything about Ohio, offensively, they can't run the ball. And so how can you trust UNLV with this defense to cover by this margin? I think that is a tough ask, if you will, even in a game like this against Ohio.
All right, let's close this out with some of the bets. To recap from yesterday, did cash on ODU +4 against South Florida. They end up winning outright, even though like they tried to mess it up numerous times. They had so many opportunities to really pull away in that game and didn't really do it until the end, but we get the cover and that's all that matters. Going ahead to this weekend, in college football, I am on the Xbox Bowl. I mentioned it earlier. Missouri State team total over 27.5. Basically they're an offense that can score points. They have a really good and efficient passing offense with a better quarterback in this position and going against a secondary that's really, really bad. I think they should be able to put up points, and we've seen Arkansas State give up this many points multiple games now down the stretch, so hopefully we can get there again. Looking toward the first round, I like Alabama in books where you can get the points for them, and at least we did earlier this week. +1.5 against Oklahoma, and Miami plus the points as well against Texas A&M. And then in the NFL, I'm on the Rams tonight for Thursday Night Football, +2 here at Circa, and I have a 6-point teaser that I gave out earlier on the week. Bears +7.5 when they were still a dog, and the Patriots +9.
Wow, look at that. All right, all of it, and I'm sure you'll have more for our Sunday show.
Absolutely.
And remember, Sundays, Stormy, Buonantony, and myself on Countdown to Kickoff, which is simulcast on SiriusXM Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Hey.
There you go. Is it my turn? Did not have anything yesterday, so we will go to today. Couple of things. First off, with you on the Rams, we'll play it a little bit differently. Rams money line +105 today against the Seahawks. We'll just ask them to win the game outright. Not a big ask, of course, as an underdog on the road in the divisional game with a 1 seed on the line. And I feel like this is a pretty strong teaser leg for the Rams to get that up to 7.5.
I thought SGT.
Yeah. So it's funny. I was going to text you that. This felt like a Stormy same game teaser type of deal.
Love it. Bringing the Rams up and then going under.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I hate to say this, same game teasy, as you call it.
Yeah, boy. Getting you on board.
No, that is not the case. Rams plus 7.5. And then I tease the Lions down. They're a touchdown favorite. Teased them down to -1 against the Steelers. I feel like that's an ask that I think I can make of the Detroit Lions. Kind of like the side. Don't really love laying the key number. So to get that through the 2, off of 7, down through 3, and ask the Lions -1 to win that game, I think is a safe bet. So Rams, Lions teaser there. Maybe a fateful one as well, considering the connection between the two franchises. NBA, 4 plays here. Ivica Zubac over 24.5 points and rebounds tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder. No big Jalen Williams, no Isaiah Hartenstein. Should be a very good matchup for Zubac tonight. Be able to eat up some offensive rebounds, yes, but some defensive rebounds as well against a very poor offensive rebounding team that does not have one of their bigs, and should get some small front courts to match up with, as well as a very slender and slim Chet Holmgren that he has a physical matchup advantage with. Speaking of Holmgren, he's going to take on a Hardenless Clippers team. Let's give it a shot with under 1.5 blocks tonight at -125 with Hartenstein out. And with a team that does not take shots within 4 feet of the basket, I think the opportunities for blocks are going to be few and far between for Chet Holmgren tonight. And as I talked about with Zach Cohen, one of the big things that might help me out here, which will work maybe against me with Zubac, if the Clippers get smoked tonight, Holmgren maybe not playing the fourth quarter, so that could help a little bit as well. One game we didn't discuss, Paolo Banchero over 22.5 points tonight against the Nuggets. We know Aaron Gordon, obviously Christian Brown as well, but the Gordon absence, I think, looms large, as does the absence of Franz Wagner, who's not going to play. Neither will Jalen Suggs. So I think Banchero, who's been back now for 4 games, this will be his 5th. We've seen his minutes ramp up. We've seen his shot attempts ramp up. Last time out, took 21 shots, Stormy. There's really nobody else on this offense. Shouldn't say nobody, but he will be the focal point of this offense and take a vast majority of the shots for this team that doesn't have really good forward to throw on him defensively. I think Banchero could have a really big day today. So over 22.5 points tonight against the Denver Nuggets. And I'll regret this one. I'll probably regret all of them. Wizards plus 15 against the San Antonio Spurs, as some in NBA media circles would call them, the Lizards, because there is no W's for the Washington Wizards.
Man, that's good. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah. So there you go. Looking forward to
today's the day. Cover a big number.
All right, so nothing else for us? No other nuggets you want to give us for JMU? No good stories outside of the burned Matthew Sluka slided, now playing backup for James Madison?
Yeah. I mean, like another thing that is just worth noting, and I think, not all that rare in college football these days, is that 3 of the coaches that are out there on the field are going to be head coaches for other teams coming out of this game. Bob Chesney is going to be the next head coach at UCLA. And then you got the defensive coordinator for Oregon, Tosh Lupoy, who's moving on to replace Justin Wilcox at Cal, and Will Stein, the offensive coordinator for Oregon, going to be the head coach at Kentucky. So just you wonder when those types of things happen, how much is your attention being segmented to trying to build out your staff and meet the requirements of your new job and figuring out your life after that, and also having to coach a massive game. I'm more excited for this game, and I know I'm biased because I'm on the sideline for it, than most people are thinking. They just think this is going to be a blowout game, but everyone I've talked to from JMU they really like that they're in the underdog role here and are excited to show people what they have. So we'll see if they've got a little fight here early.
Yeah, I was kind of keen on looking at like Oregon's team total. It's under that 35 mark. It's like 33.5, 34.5. Wide receiver room kind of bothers me a little bit, but I'm going to go home and sleep on it because I'm a little tired right now.
I know you need you like the redemption angle for Oregon after the Rose Bowl last year. I know that's been an important thing for you, but I get that you're tired. I'm tired all the time too.
Need a coffee.
And that's what we do every single day. We go get our Starbucks, and it is the season to come together. Your holiday favorites at Starbucks right now. You can warm up with a creamy caramel brulee latte, get festive with a nice gingerbread chai, or share a velvety peppermint mocha. Together is the place to be at Starbucks. I'm sad I don't have a cup in my hand right now. I finished it before we came in today. So usually I already have it on the desk ready to go.
One of those days where you needed it.
I did.
Back when I was a barista, my favorite thing to do was an iced coffee with 3 added shots in vanilla. Just drink it black and you just pound it.
You make fun of me for how many shots of espresso I drink.
I didn't know. I don't make fun of you.
You judge me for it.
Because I'm a caffeine connoisseur myself. It just surprised me. The other day, was it a Sunday? I think you traveled in that day, if I remember correctly. But I had offered to get you Starbucks on the way in because I was getting one myself. Kind. And you ordered a drink that had 5 shots in it. And I was surprised. I didn't know you rolled like that.
Well, I only added 1 shot. I didn't ask for additional. And you were just surprised at how many already came in it to begin with. You're like, you're going to have...
Look, I just didn't know you went hard like that.
5 espresso shots? Got to get it going on a Sunday morning.
You continue to surprise me every day.
I'm here for it. I like the holiday ones, though. That's a wrap for us today.
Japanese.
You can't count in Japanese?
I said you can. I
know, but you can't. I thought
me.
this was a thing, universal thing.
40. What a random way.
I gave up after that in my youth. I want to say thank you to Jim Coventry and, of course, Nick Bogdanovich for joining the program with us today. You miss any of the action, you can always get Money Moves in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. For our producer, Justin Emery, I'm Stormy Buonantony. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. Good luck with the bets. Enjoy the weekend. And, yeah, I'll see you back on Sunday, but you're stuck with this guy tomorrow.